So if we look at the Lions, for example, I think the Lions have been pretty much on and off in the URC season. They are coming off a good win against the Sharks, but I do think that, the Lions are currently ranked seventh on the overall log, which is amazing. The Lions also, there are only 5 points separating them and Munster, who are ranked sixth, and 4 points a difference between them and the Bulls, who are ranked eighth. So I think the Lions are ranked very well in terms of if you look at the South African teams, but there are very little separating the teams, which we will get into a little bit later. But if we look at the Emirates Airline Lions, I think so. The Lions are obviously in contention for the top eight, which is a huge achievement for them. And I think specifically if you look at how their season has been going, it's pretty much been on and off for them, but still they are in contention for the top eight. And it's been a while since the Lions have actually made the top eight in the URC. So they are also they do have a home match this weekend against the Stormers, and I think this is going to be a very tough battle for both of those teams. But yeah, I think obviously the Lions also have the Lions are very good in terms of their attacking play, but their defense lacks. So if you look at um, team scoring against the Lions, it's quite high every single time. So that's definitely something they'll have to work on, especially when you do want to compete for the top eight spot. Um, yeah, I think the Lions are also very good in terms of their set pieces, and yeah, I think they'll also just have to have a look at their discipline if they do want to progress and if they do want to actually claim that spot in the top eight. Moving on to the Bulls. So the Vodacom Bulls, I think essentially when the USC season stopped, they had really good momentum. They came off 3 wins respectively in the Champions Cup as well as the URC. And I think they'd want to build momentum, and it's going to be interesting to see how they return to the URC season. I think the season started off pretty poorly for them, and they really had to do a lot to bounce back. And I think just before the end of the first part of the URC, they did really well and they came back a lot stronger. Um, so in terms of just stats wise, which is very interesting, the Vodacom Bulls have one of the most dominant scrum records in the URC with a 97% scrum success and 28 scrum penalties won. And then the Sharks coming off second best scrum success with 95%, which is, I think both of those really speaks to the game plan and the approach of both of the teams, which is, physical battle and playing with the forwards. And it's something that has really worked for the Bulls. So the Bulls are currently ranked eighth, as I've mentioned, and there is just 1 point separating themselves and the Sharks, who are ranked 10th. So, yeah, the Vodacom Bulls, I think the form in the latter half of the URC so far has been a lot better compared to the first half. I think they're finding their feet. They went through a lot of changes. They also had a few injuries. But yeah, I think they are finally finding their feet. And I think the Bulls really have to focus on what is working for them at the moment, which are their scrum success and their set pieces. I think this is a pretty much a big thing for all South African teams, and something that you'd probably see in all of the summaries about the South African teams is their set pieces and their physical play, because this is just something that we focus on a lot, and something that you'd obviously seen in the Springboks' game plan, etc. But yeah, I think the Bulls will be returning with a very positive mindset in the URC. They'd want to keep momentum going. They're also still in contention for the top eight spots. As I've mentioned, there's only a 4 point difference between them and the Lions. So if the Sharks go on, um, so the Bulls will need a win over the Sharks this weekend to really be in contention for that top 8 spot. But it is very close for all of the teams. I think, yeah, so as I've mentioned, for the Bulls, it's their forward dominance that have really given them the edge over other teams, and I think especially in those close games, that have really helped them a lot. And yeah, I think for them it will just be important to remain consistent over the 80 minutes throughout the game. So then moving on to the, the Hollywood Bait Sharks. So the Sharks had two good last games in the latter half of the URC, and then they played the Emirates Airline Lions last week and they lost again. So the Sharks are also very much on and off, and they did not have a good season. But there are glimpses of, okay, this is working for them, or glimpses of them actually, I don't want to say making a comeback, but there are glimpses of positives for the Sharks. I do think the Sharks are still struggling to find their feet. They also have a new coach, JB Peterson, and I think people forget that JB Peterson took the Sharks to a Currie Cup win. So I'm very excited to see over the long run what he can do with the Sharks. Obviously, the Sharks didn't put out necessarily the strongest side against the Emirates Airlines Lions, but I think there were still way too many errors and schoolboy errors, if you can say it like that. Um, so the Sharks built really good momentum up until the latter half of the URC, and then yeah, obviously coming off from a loss against the Lions. So I think the game against the Bulls is going to be really interesting, and yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how the synergy are between the Vodacom Bulls players, and usually if there's that long of a break, it's always interesting to see um, how the teams play. Some teams come out with a bang, other teams you can see, they have been resting. So it's going to be interesting. Sharks are currently ranked 10th, sorry, and there's only 1 point separating themselves, and the Vodacom Bulls are ranked 8th. So if the Sharks get their win over the Vodacom Bulls, and some other results also go their way, because Ospreys are ranked 9th. So yeah, I think this is going to be a very big weekend for the URC. The middle part of the log is pretty close in terms of points difference between the teams, so it's going to be really interesting to see. So then looking at the DHL Stormers, so obviously they had their 10th consecutive win streak in the URC and um, as well as the the Champions Cup combined. So yeah, they started off really strong in their season, and they were the only unbeaten team up until a point. So it were the Stormers and Munster, and then yeah, and then the Stormers played the Harlequins, and things kind of went all south from there. Um, Stormers also coming off from two losses, both of the losses against the Hollywood Big Sharks. So I think the Stormers would really be, they would really want to come out and build back on that momentum. So the Stormers are currently ranked third on the overall URC log, 4 points separating them and Leinster, who are ranked second, and 1 point separating them and Ulster, who are ranked fourth. So I think this is also going to be a very big match for the Stormers, and they came out guns blazing. They were ranked first for quite a number of weeks, and then it was kind of between them and Glasgow, and yeah, it's also the first time in I don't know how many seasons that Leinster have not been ranked first. So yeah, but I think the Stormers would be really disappointed with the last few performances, especially having such a strong start. So I think they would probably be very disappointed with how things have kind of panned out in their season. But yeah, I mean, they're still in contention. I think for the Stormers, they'd want to, obviously, you'd want to be ranked either first or second so that you get a home quarter semi final, obviously, if you do progress onto that stages. But to really be secure of that home quarter, home semi, because we've also seen what traveling can do to teams. So, obviously, besides the top eight contention, there is the SA Shield that is on the line, and I think there is a lot to play for this weekend for the SA teams. So the Sharks are ranked first with 16 points, Lions ranked second with 15 points, Stormers ranked ninth, and then the Vodacom Bulls ranked, uh, Stormers ranked third with 9 points, and then the Vodacom Bulls ranked fourth with 7 points. So yeah, I think there's a lot to play for. The Stormers and the Bulls can't win the SA Shield, but it will be between the Sharks and the Lions. So if the Sharks get a bonus point win over the Bulls, they'll automatically win the Shield. But if the Sharks only win and the Lions win with a bonus point, it will all come down to points difference. And I think there's a really big chance that the Lions might actually beat the Stormers. It will all depend on how the Stormers regroup, with how much confidence they'll be going in, what their preparation looks like, what is their game plan going to be like against the Lions. So it will be dependent on a few variables. Um, but I am very excited um, for this weekend, and I'm also giving my predictions. So my predictions are I'm backing my team. So I'm backing the Hollywood Bet Sharks. I also feel like over the last few seasons they've been a lot better at Loftus compared to previous seasons. And yeah, I think the Sharks and the Bulls are it's always a tough match, and I'm really looking forward to it, and I think the vibe's gonna be nice. I'll also be there. So I can't wait to watch the match live. But yeah, I think Hollywood Bet Sharks, I think it's going to be a tight game. I'm going to say about 5 points. And the Lions and the Storm is it's really a tricky one for me to predict. I'm actually going with the Lions on this one. I think it is a home game for them. I also feel like teams usually perform a lot. South African teams specifically perform a lot stronger against each other. Um, so yeah, it's going to be interesting to see, but I am very excited for both of these matches. I'm backing one home team and one away team. I might be completely off with this one, but I'll do anything to back my team. So we'll see. And yeah, let me know what your thoughts are. Let me know who you are backing this weekend. And I'm excited for Derby weekend. It's always massive, massive games, and there is a lot on the line for all of the four South African teams. So looking forward to it. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments. Let me know if you agree with the predictions. If you don't agree, what are your predictions? And yeah, looking forward to it. But for now, I'm signing off from South Africa and see you guys next week. Bye.